Welcome to Highlands Postcards from the Finish Line. Stop your cramp, not your race. We're also brought to you by Polar. Chase your destiny. My name is Bob Babbitt. With me, Ryan Bolton, one of the top coaches around, and 2000 Olympian. That must seem like another century.
It was, what, 16 years ago? Yeah, 17, yeah, I feel old.
Caroline Rotich, 2015 Boston Marathon champion. Caroline, how are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to be back in Boston.
So you win in 2015, and then last year you were dealing with foot issues. Talk a little bit about how frustrating that was for you not to be able to be at full strength here.
Yeah, last year was kind of like frustrating because it was one of the year that was wanted to be back and just like defend my title, and then the other thing was like Olympic year, and I wanted to be in Olympics, so that was like so hard on me, like just like to not race or just like get to do the race.
So Ryan, as the coach, how do you get somebody back from they win one year, disappointed the next year, and then let them know, listen, I know it's 12 months away, but you can come back and be as good as you were then?
Yeah, it's a great question, because last year her foot injury didn't happen until about 10 days out from the race, and her fitness 10 days out from the race was better than I'd ever seen it before. So she was in a really good place. So
yes.
The setback was probably, well, A, being that it was an Olympic year and like an Olympic spot was potentially on the line, but also defending champion. I think it hurt more than normally. So we really did focus on, just kind of getting, obviously number one was to get healthy again, but once we got healthy again was just resetting that focus and getting ready to be here again. And it's been a year-long process though, for sure. It has been, yeah.
How is that to stay, as a former athlete yourself, trying to stay patient, and you know what it took to get to that 2000 Olympics in triathlon? There's a lot of ups and downs. How have you taken some of that, and how has that helped you as a coach?
Well, it is patience, and as an athlete, I've seen that, and as experience working with athletes so many years, I've seen that, is a lot of people, they get injured, and of course, because we're athletes, you're one, she's one, I'm one, your first instinct is like, okay, let's go out and rock and roll right now, whereas you have to build up slowly. You really have to be patient. You kind of have to look at the big picture and say, hey, I don't need to be ready in a month. I need to be ready in 11 months from now. So you have to just, day by day, step by step. And I think, our relationship is close enough that, we're checking in at a constant basis so that, because it took her a while to get back into the full swing of things and to feel healthy 100% again. So it took a while.
So you're sort of having to reinforce, listen, you've run 2:23. You've run 109 for the half. You have that hasn't gone away.
Right.
You've got a foot injury, and when you get that better, those times still stand up against anybody in the world.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing, endurance athletics, endurance sports, they are time-intensive sports, but they're also cumulative, And she's been doing this. She's 32 years old now. Yeah. She's been doing it, since she was, 16 or something. So, that downtime, it's okay to have that downtime, and sometimes it's actually great for a mental reset, but you still got to build back into it, though. Yeah.
How tough was this for you, just not being able to race? Just because I'm assuming you got to the point where you could train again, but you're not quite ready to race yet, and you had to be patient and wait for this.
Yeah, I remember even before I start even training, I will see anyone running and I will feel like mad because I can't run, I can't get out there and run. But when I started run, I was like, it's not like just right now get out and race. I have to be like train fast and just like take time, be patient until I get to the point that I'm gonna be able to race. And be able to be out here today and feeling good and no injury at all, it feels great. Just even before to get to the sideline, I feel great right now.
Yeah, and Ryan is somebody who cross-trained for a living.
That's right.
Yeah,
I still do.
I do
I know.
that.
I know. And that never goes away. You're a triathlete for life. So for Caroline, were you able to say, okay, you can't run, let's do some other stuff here because we can still tune the engine and this will help you get better for when you are able to run again?
Yeah, it's fun because swimming is still a challenge.
I'm still
but we do
trying.
get in the pool. She did elliptigo stuff, which is fantastic. And
was that new for you, that whole elliptigo thing?
Yeah, I remember like the first time I was like, how am I gonna balance this one?
Yes.
But yeah, I get to the point that I was like enjoying to use that and get out of the house and just like do something out
It sort
there.
of feels like running.
Yeah, so
it's the
that
same
was
motion.
good.
Yeah, and we did some cycling. She got a mountain bike, and I took her on mountain bike terrain.
I did that.
And
Training wheels? No training wheels.
No training wheels, which, I mean, it's a little scary how well she took to single track.
Really?
I was kind of blown away. In fact, the first day that one of the first times we rode, I took her on a trail that I had not been on before, and this was up in Colorado.
Yes.
It was nasty single track.
And she was okay.
I was freaked out a little bit, and she did fine. I was pretty impressed. Yeah.
Wow, so you're becoming an Xterra athlete.
Possibly.
I wanted to be out.
So you enjoyed it, the mountain biking?
I did, for sure. And then I went back and I was like, I'm gonna get a bike.
Well, what's great about that is it's trails, which I'm sure you love, right?
Yeah,
Grew up running trails.
And it was beautiful being
And
out
it's
there
beautiful,
then.
and you can cover a lot more ground.
Exactly.
She also got I'm willing to admit this now because it wasn't that bad, but she got the obligatory road rash on one of the rides. Yeah. So she has some scars to show.
So you can show the other girls.
Right.
Yeah,
I am a mountain biker.
You're not a cyclist until you crash. So.
Exactly. At least
That's
you
what
didn't
they
break a
told me.
collarbone or anything like
exactly.
that. So Ryan, how many athletes are you coaching now down in Santa Fe?
Well, in Santa Fe, we have a small group of usually about a half dozen people, and they're, we have Americans and East Africans, and then of course I have, my age group athletes that are worldwide, basically.
Right.
So, yeah, but the elites, it's a tight group. All of them, for the most part, are based in Santa Fe, and I like it that way because it's nice to have your hands on them. Yeah.
Now, I know as a triathlete, you were still a runner. Right?
Yes.
You were
Yes,
always
yeah.
a runner.
Yeah.
Deciding to work with elite runners, what did you learn from these guys, or how did you have to adapt to working with elite runners?
Well, I think dealing with the East African mentality is different than, say, like an American mentality. I understood what an elite American runner thought like, because
right.
A, I've grown up with them, B, I was one. But I think a lot of what I learned from these guys, which, I mean, it's common sense, but very true, is they're very intuitive. They listen to their bodies. They know exactly when they need to rest. They know exactly when they need to go hard. And it's a cliche to say it because I say it so much, but one thing that they're very good at is that Americans can really learn from, triathletes can really learn from, is on their easy days, they go very easy.
Yes.
She runs 10-minute miles on her easy runs,
Wow,
but
we could run together.
That's
We
right,
can
yeah.
do
I'll wear
that.
my Elvis outfit. We're good.
I always invite people to come run with us, and they're like, there's
no
no
way.
way I can run with those guys. And I'm like, trust me. And it's funny because a person will show up, we'll invite
Right.
you'll show up, you'll run with us on one day, and you'll be like, that's no problem. And so you think you're
Yeah.
a rock star.
No.
So then the next day we do a tempo run, and then you're like, wait, hold on, what's going on here? Yeah.
I'm up at altitude. You guys are running 5-minute pace, and
That's
what
right.
just happened here? I remember talking to Josh Cox when he went to Kenya to train, and he said the thing that amazed him the most was they trained 3 times a day, but the guys in between, he said, seriously, they would lay on a rock and watch the clouds go by. I mean, rest is rest, right? It's real rest, where an American rest is, I'll get on my computer, I'll go to pick up groceries.
That's right.
It is different, isn't it?
Caro is a world-class runner, but I would say at the same level, she's a world-class sleeper. And I'm serious about that. Like,
Really?
she can nap like no other. She can sleep like no other.
But you have to
Yeah,
really
absolutely.
recover.
Yeah.
So, Ron, a typical week, what would a typical week be for Caroline?
Of course, it depends on the time of year,
Yes.
where we're at, if we're in a base period, if we're in a high-intensity period. When we are in, like, more high-intensity periods, usually there's about 3 quality workouts a week. It's, usually some track work, of course, with marathon training, a lot of strength work, a lot of hill work, and the volume's pretty high, too. A long run is almost never just a long run, just, hey, go out and run 18 miles, go run 16 miles, go run 20 miles. There's almost always some specificity added to those runs
So
as
some
well.
tempo in between?
Absolutely,
or some,
yeah, for sure. Whether it's fartlek or longer tempos, or just like a pure tempo where you're
Yeah.
building up to a certain speed and
Yeah.
maintaining and stuff like that. Yeah, it's almost always. It's very rare that we do a long run, especially during intensity phases that are just super low key and just out running. Yeah.
So, Caroline, when you left Kenya originally, you went to Japan?
Yes, the first time I left Kenya, the first time I got in a plane was just like direct to Japan, and was there for 5 years, went back to Kenya for 2 years, and then that's when I came here. Yeah.
How was adapting to Japan? That's a little bit of a culture shock.
Yeah, but the most shock thing was like cold. Winter, because I went there and I was like, yeah, you come from equator in Kenya, really warm throughout the year, and then you get to Japan and like some white stuff in the ground, and you're like,
what is this white stuff?
yeah, and I knew they were like, yeah, you as white as snow, and I was like, what's that look like, you know? Yeah, so that was like one thing was shock to me, and then food different, culture different, but by 1 year I was kind of like starting to like everything, adapting to the stuff, and just like enjoying the moment I was there.
When you came to the U.S., now did you know each other then, or was it after college?
It was after. She came to the U.S. and I met her probably a year after she showed up in the United States. Yeah, which I mean, it was 8 years ago, so it's been a while. But yeah.
And it's not always that warm in Santa Fe.
No, but we have like, I think it's like the best way, training weather, like running, because we don't get too much snow. Or
not too much snow.
Yeah, and then when it's just like even snow, by afternoon you can still get out and run. So I love training there.
And she's pretty tough when it comes to cold weather and inclement weather. Yeah, we may have to come to San Diego and visit you sometime in the wintertime for a training camp. But
you're liking the cold weather now. You want to go to Antarctica and go train up there for a little bit.
Yeah, and have fun.
Yes. Yeah. So Caroline, when you look back at your career, because you've had some amazing races and winning here and winning the Las Vegas Marathon, the New York Half. What do you look at as your best win or the race that meant the most to you?
I can pick up right now and be like, oh yeah, the Boston was like the best race. I like was the best for me, but still in me, I feel like I still have to do more. I still want more than, I have to forget about that and just like look out for something new every time when I get out there and just like race for new racing.
So with this field, which is always great, do you look at the other, Ryan, do you guys study the other athletes and have a game plan, or is it more you just got to run by feel and not get carried away?
Yeah, we do have a game plan, and you do look at the other athletes in the race, but a lot of times, and I think one of Caroline's strengths is her mentality, and it's kind of a mentality that I try to coach as well, is it doesn't really matter who's in the race, the goal is to win, you know? And so, I mean, there are tactics and certain runners run certain ways and the like, but still the game plan, is always to win. And Caro, like, honestly, I have some athletes that I coach who, before a race like this, they'll know the name and PR of every athlete, whereas Caro, like, if I say who's in the race, she'll be like, I don't know, I'm going to go win, So she's really, it's kind of, she almost ignores the field. Yeah, ignorance is bliss.
Which it is. Because they aren't really affecting your race, right? It's you against you.
I feel like I don't want to spend much time thinking who is going to be there, how it's going to be, and I don't know how they feel that day,
Exactly.
Yeah, so you get out there on Monday and then everything is different and you spend your time like trying to focus on one person, so it's kind of like,
And that's the magic of Boston too, is this race, it's a racer's race. It's not really a time trial. It's tactical. You got to be smart. You got to be ready. You got to be trained properly. You can't just start, run fast, to the end, and whoever's left standing, wins. It's like, it's very much, you got to be smart out there, and you got to approach it in a very smart way. Yeah.
There's been a number of athletes who've won here once, but when you win multiple times, you become a little legendary. What would it mean to you to win this for a second time?
Man, it's gonna be the best. They mean the world to me, because doing once is like, I won Boston, but doing it twice or just like repeating it is kind of like something else. It's just like one thing I haven't even sit and think about it. It's just like right now is to focus and just like do it first and then see.
And what will the rest of the season be?
Right now, the goal is just like up to Monday, just to do the Boston and then take it from there. Yeah, relax and just.
Then a few mountain bike races.
Yeah, just like
maybe an elliptico race.
Maybe.
You got all this new stuff now.
Yeah.
They have mountain bike, elliptico, run. You'd be dominating.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I mean, of course, post Boston, it's really the time, and we don't talk about it much ahead of time. I mean, we know she'll run a fall marathon.
Right.
Don't know which one yet, but as soon as the race is over and things settle from the race, we definitely sit down and plan it out. Yep.
So talk a little bit about the genesis of, is it Harambee? Is that how it's pronounced?
Yeah, Harambee, yeah.
Harambee. That became the name of your running club.
Right,
Why?
yeah. Well, Harambee in Swahili, which is what their native language means, like as a group, we achieve more. And when I first started working with the East Africans, they would use that term, and you would say, why are you fast? And people ask that question all the time, why are East Africans fast? And a lot of times the answer was, sometimes it was ugali, which is the food that they eat. Sometimes it was RT, which I kind of believe that one. And but more often than not, the answer was Harambee. And I said, well, what is Harambee? And it's and they would describe it as, all of us training together, pushing each other, helping each other, and in every way, both on running, when they're running, but also when they're not running. And so I thought it would be a cool name for a group, particularly an international group. It would be a cool name because that's kind of what we have going, and that's kind of what the group is about. Is it's like, working together to achieve more ultimately. So
what have you learned from the Kenyan culture now that you've been immersed in it?
Yeah.
That, God, I wish I had known this when I was racing.
Like relaxing, like you said. My greatest flaw as an athlete when I was racing was downtime. I was horrible at downtime. Like you said, I want to check emails. I needed to do this and this and that.
Talk to a sponsor.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Whereas these guys, they're very good at just relaxing and saying no, and also just the attitude prior to the race. Like her, I just got in last night, but talking to her leading up to the race, it always amazes me, and you can see it and you can feel it with these guys. Is they're so much more relaxed going into the race. They're confident. They say, I've done my work, and this is the day before the race, and she's totally relaxed. She'll sleep really well tonight. And I think there's tons of power in that, because you see a lot of athletes and they get so tense and so uptight, and it's really just need to breathe in, breathe out. You've done everything, get to the starting line, you've done everything you can at this point, and let the race be.
People
let it happen.
tend to want to cram. They want to cram, right? They want
exactly
to pull the books out from under their chair.
Yeah.
I can study a little more.
We're running on the Charles River this morning, and there's some people out there, and we're running along, at her pre-race pace, which is relatively slow, and there's people flying, and I know they're in the race tomorrow, and I was like, little late to be getting fit now, but that's great.
I love that. So the most important question is after you win tomorrow, you'll still come back and talk to us next year?
If you give me a chance and you invite us back, we will. I would love to come back.
Our guest, Caroline Rotich, the 2015 Boston Marathon champion, and Mr. Ryan Bolton. Thank you guys for taking time. Harambee.
Thank
Train
you.
together,
Harambee.
which is sort of, you think about it, America's coming back with the Mammoth Track Club, with
exactly.
Flagstaff. It's people working together. You can't do it alone.
Right, yeah. No, it's a hard sport. It's helpful to be with people pushing.
Love it. All right, everybody, hold on. We will be right back.